Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Heather. So today, who keeps revving their engine? Is he revving his engine again? You know what they say about guys who keep revving their engine, right? This guy is damaging my calm. Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Heather. This is part 2 of the Faux Concrete Pond project that I'm working on. So in the last video, what I did is I showed you how I did the foam sculpture on the front and used foam to create more of a concrete texture around the whole pond. And this video is going to be all about using paint to create that faux concrete finish. So after painting a little bit, I realized that I needed a base coat, so I went back to the hardware store and got a couple more cans of the Krylon Fusion and used that as a base. About 15 minutes into this project, I realized that this was totally the wrong paint. Even though it looks white, it is still a tintable paint, and it was too transparent for what I wanted. And then when I mixed it with the black, it didn't look right. Everything just came out too black, almost as if this just was completely transparent. I didn't want to go back to the hardware store because I'd already been back once today to get more spray paint, and I just don't want to go out again. It's too hot right now. So I used what I had, and I have this this white craft paint hanging around that I've had for a while. And what I did, because I knew this wouldn't be enough to cover this entire tub, is I mixed this with that just to kind of expand, God, what's the word I'm looking for? Wow, brain thinking is not really working today. Anyways, I knew it wouldn't have enough of this, so I added some of that just to kind of stretch out the amount of the stuff that I had. And that's what ended up being in this little jar here, is I just kind of mixed them both together. And that really helped a lot because this white paint was much more opaque, and that's what's given me this nice look here. So on some of these things that I'll do, like a little splat of white paint on one side, and then I'll do like a little splat of just a little bit of black on one side, just because that's how you want to mix your paint. Too much black will make it too dark. This is kind of the ratio I wanted for the gray color that I wanted. And on that, I don't mix it on the sponge. I just kind of splat it like that, so I get a little bit on each side. That makes it so you get this kind of nice color mixture on here when you do sponge it on. If you had it all mixed, it would be way too uniform, and then it would just eventually make your job faux finishing that much harder, because then you would have to go back in layers and apply each different color separately. This way, if you kind of do it like this, you can just kind of do it all at once. Just kind of like that. So the one thing that you want to look out for, and you can kind of do this to your own taste on what you like, is see how you get, you'll get more definite lines here. So you've got stark contrast of white and black, and you've got too much of an edge, and that's not something that I want. I like to soften out my edges, and you'll just want to do that with a slightly lighter touch than the one that you applied the sponge to begin with. So normally you would have kind of just splatted it on like this. If you want to feather it out, you just want to go a little bit softer, a little bit softer. And in doing this, what I found I really like is using a spray bottle with some water, and you make sure you do this before your paint dries. You want to spray it on there, and that'll kind of soften the edge up a little bit, and it'll also make this nice aged look once it starts to drip down. But also, once you do sponge on a little bit of water, it makes the effect of the sponge a little bit different. So as opposed to some, all right, so when your area is dry and you, all right, that's better. When your area is dry and you're painting, you're gonna get really sharp lines like this. It's kind of hard to show you what I mean, but you're gonna get something like that, all right? So if you go to another section here, just to compare, this is kind of dry already. So if I went ahead and I just wet this down first and then went and applied a lighter color, slightly lighter over that. You see how the effect is a little bit different. It's a little bit watery. It looks a little bit more like natural concrete that way. So that's going to be the difference. Now what I would normally do here is, since I really don't like sharp lines like that, try to get the glare out, I'm going to try to just spray some water on here because it's starting to dry already, just so you get this look right here. It's almost like, I don't even know what you call it. It's not a crackle, but you just have the effect of the light color dripping over a darker background, and that helps make it look more aged. And I'm gonna go back over this whole coat at least 1 or 2 more times, just to kind of get the effect that I want. This is gonna be the base layer. Later I'm gonna add more of a patina. And also, to add one more quick tip is, you might wanna use gloves if you really want to, if you're a person that doesn't like getting their hands all schmutzy like this. Sometimes about layers. So this is my first layer, and I want to work smart but not hard. And I also want to be really efficient at what I'm doing, but at the same time, it is a process, and making different layers of paint is kind of necessary for the look. So what I do is, when I say I'm working smart, not hard, is, God, you know, sometimes that statement is really annoying, isn't it? But let's just say I want to be efficient. Efficient, that's the right word. So what I mean by being efficient is, instead of painting, you know, I painted this layer here, this base layer, instead of just painting gray all the way around and then waiting for that to dry, and then painting white all the way around, waiting for that to dry, and then painting black, and then doing like the kind of turquoise patina, and making way too many steps for myself, what I'm doing is I'm doing stuff like this. I'm combining my black and my white so that I get a nice base of kind of mixed colors here. So that way it makes less work for me in the future. It still gives me some layers, but it gives me a lot less layers and saves me time. I'm creative, whatever. Most art is gonna look like crap when you first start. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. A lot of people think that art just happens, it comes to fruition, it goes from being blank to perfect in one step, but it just doesn't work that way. A lot of things happen in layers. And in general, and you know what, maybe it's just my art, but I find in my experience that art is gonna look terrible until you're completely done. So if it's looking bad, you wanna kind of stand back for a while, pace yourself and say, well, does this make a good base layer for what I want? You know, just bear in mind that it's time to put the next layer on. So looking at the pictures that I have of the aged concrete that I want to kind of replicate here, I want to do the second layer is going to have to be black. So that way when I put the lighter layer on top of it, I can have the lighter layer kind of dripped over it. So what I'm going to do is add black to kind of the cracks and the holes in here, just to kind of give it more depth and add a little bit more of an aged look and add a little bit of shadowing to it. Alright, so adding black, what I found works best is, we're going to start on this piece right here. I'm going to go ahead and spray it with water first. I'm going to add some of my black paint, just kind of in the cracks here and in the places that I want kind of more of a shadow, a little bit more definition. Now I don't want this whole thing covered in black, I just want the black in the creases here. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of
I just added the blue patina layer just like I did the other layers, just using the same techniques as before, just with different colors.
Alright, now once I've done kind of this section here with the blue-green patina, I want to go ahead and add, like, to these areas of texture, I add a little bit of black. So what I do is I go ahead and spray just a little bit of water. And then I'll go underneath a little bit, underneath the textured parts, to just kind of add a little bit more character. And I'll go back over with my sponge and just kind of do that and blend it out. All right, so I'm nearly done here, and I had kind of a problem where I should have taped off the inside or been more careful with this side. So a lot of the paint that I had mixed for the patina had dripped on the inside, so I scrubbed all that out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of the Krylon Fusion to just kind of put a barrier around here. Hopefully that'll work out and cover the bottom, because I'm going to put pebbles down there. And what I did, I made this kind of little taped barrier. You can kind of see it, so I didn't want to stick the tape to this because I didn't want it to come up, but I want a nice like clean line. I've got a few more ideas rolling around for things that I really want to do for this faux concrete pond. I'm going to be using some polymer clay to kind of create my own filter slash pump slash fountain. I don't really have a concrete idea on what exactly that's going to be yet, still working on it, but just stay tuned for that. I also will be adding fish to this, and I'll be doing a little bit more pondscaping, if you will, so stay tuned for more projects on this particular pond. And I do have quite a few more artistic projects that I have lined up for these mini ponds over here. I got a bug in my mouth. Nature is amazing. So in addition to the artistic projects that I have lined up for the large pond that I have a lot of little projects lined up for these mini ponds back here that I really want to do. A lot of those involving clay and egg crate and just kind of creating something kind of unique out of that. So stay tuned for those. I will be doing a lot more artistic projects as far as like ponds and aquariums going forward. So if that's the kind of thing you're interested in, please go ahead and subscribe and like. I do have a Patreon if you feel so inclined. I'd really appreciate it. If not, that's cool. But otherwise, that is all she wrote, folks.